So just to make a couple of comments about the conduct of the meeting from here, we've got 8 deputations on item 22, which we'll be taking next. That'll take us to just before 11 o'clock. Each of those deputations will have 10 minutes, including time for questions, and I intend to enforce that 10 minutes very strictly. We're going to need to because of the number of deputations that we've got this morning. That'll see us with a morning tea break at around about 11 o'clock. Then we've got 7 community boards, which will be giving 10 minutes each to present their reports, again, including time for questions. That should take us to a little bit after 12 o'clock, at which point I intend to deal with the Part A's coming from the community boards and then move immediately to item 22. So for those people that are here making deputations to item 22 this morning who are wanting to be in the chamber when we debate that item, it's likely that that will happen somewhere between 12:15 and maybe 1 o'clock or just after. So just in terms of the community board chairs and representatives planning their time this morning, it's unlikely that we'll get to you before 11 o'clock. And for the people that are here for item 22, it's likely that we'll get to that item sometime after 12 o'clock. But of course, we've got the deputations to hear first, which we'll do next. So now let's immediately move to those deputations by appointment. And I would call Linda Burdicken, the chair, and Simon Brown, the vice chair of the Southshore Residents Association, to the table for the first of our 10-minute deputations on item 22. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Many thanks for allowing the Southshore Residents Association to speak at a deputation today to provide feedback on the proposed leadership transition from Regenerate to Christchurch City Council. Whilst Southshore Residents Association and our residents have had many issues with the City Council throughout the history of our city, we know that it is possible for us to be heard and to work together as we did successfully on the recent Section 71 matter. We have nothing positive to say about Regenerate, and we're not going to waste this moment. Instead, we will focus on these reports discovered at short notice without communication, which potentially have significant implications for our community. It is clear that Regenerate are not up to the task, and we agree with the reasons stated as to why to transition leadership. Our community are universally behind the need for robust flood protection along the estuary edge that respects and enhances the natural environment. That message has not changed for many years. We also agree with the estuary walkway proposed by CCRU. Throughout the history of our city, there's been precedent of poor treatment of the eastern suburbs. That does not make it okay when considering past council decisions. As the City Council will be aware, the previous estuary edge protection pre-earthquake was provided by individual property owners on the estuary edge, having lost that same fight before as a council decision. What is fundamentally different this time is CERA partially demolished or left these earthquake-damaged defences, making the remaining 500 property owners more vulnerable than they were before. In many cases, scraping the land to a lower level and not reinstating ground levels is also an issue. The City Council will ultimately own the red zone land as an asset, but it will need to be protected. We don't have an answer as to who is responsible, as it is surely complex legally. However, that increased risk must not fall to existing private property owners as a result of decisions made by an adjoining property owner, be that CERA, Linds or someone else, as we have raised before in previous submissions. With regard to the options presented, we are heartened that the City Council are considering human welfare, health and well-being in this issue for the first time. Perhaps that is thanks to the How team. We also commend the idea of splitting earthquake repair and adaptation processes as proposed by option 2. However, this option does not go far enough to address human well-being and social repair in the short and medium term, and only adds uncertainty, which is a serious concern. We cannot have a situation where past wrongs on earthquake repairs do not proceed because of predetermined adaptation plans, as could occur with either option 1 or option 2. Such an approach will confirm to our residents that retreat has always been and always will be the intention. We continue to strongly support option 3 presented by CCRU, the key focus being social repair and addressing the undue stress, health and well-being challenges for our community. We do not agree with the negative comments made regarding the CCRU option. Council analysis of option 3 states no wider community consultation has been undertaken, but it has been. The whole Southshore community has been consulted on the estuary edge protection by the Residents Association, including surveys, public meetings and the OSEL report. The response was compelling. Council analysis also states option 3 has taken away investigation, which to us is odd because any solution or option would need to be investigated and the scope of work produced. We refute impact on Mana Whenua in option 3 because engagement with Ngāi Tahu is a requirement of the district plan and would always be included in appropriate council works. Ngāi Tahu will need to agree and they are a key stakeholder. Reduced reliance on physical structures, stated in the council report, is again a misnomer in Christchurch because we rely on stop banks throughout the city, including the Waimakariri stop banks and many others. Finally, we note a comment in the matrix at the back of the report regarding the CCRU option 3, that repairs of the estuary edge will send a message of perceived safety and encourage development. If that was the case, we should not have rebuilt Christchurch and we should all be leaving New Zealand. It is precisely that feeling of safety that our residents are looking for and deserve. We also note reference throughout the report that there are no predetermined outcomes. Having done almost nothing for the last 9 years since the earthquake is a clear demonstration of a predetermined outcome. What makes our residents really angry is being singled out and treated differently to other equally valid parts of the city. The wonderful sea defences and walkway being built in Sumner, for example. We look forward to collaborating with the City Council, being treated fairly and working with you to look after the best interests of our residents and communities. So you, as councillors, have the opportunity today to facilitate a decision that allows our community to finally recover and look to the future. An opportunity not to be missed in an election year. Our community will always remember those who stood up for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now that allows just under 5 minutes for questions. Are there any questions? Jimmy.
Just one question quickly regarding to the those strategy plan. You know, the contents no any difference. Am I right?
So
contents regarding strategy plan, because option 3 is also you would like to is protection first and also control those erosion and inundation. Then
yes.
we adapt those strategy plan.
Doing the earthquake repairs first is definitely send the right message to the community. And after that, adaptation. That's a long-term plan, but we need the immediate security.
Yeah. So only difference is kind of do those the kind of the protection and the control first.
Yes.
Then adapt.
Agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
Kia ora, thank you. A quick question on the adaptation conversation. While the getting on with the earthquake legacy issues is key for your area, the adaptation conversation has to happen with a wider area in Christchurch, so along the entire coast and including Banks Peninsula. That conversation really needs to start now. If that conversation started now, would you want to be part of it, or would you want to wait till your earthquake stuff was finished and then be behind the rest of the city when it came to that conversation?
We definitely want to be part of the conversation. We definitely want to collaborate, and we definitely want. I mean, it's our assets and our future. Of course, we want to be part of the conversation. The only thing that we're with our reservation is that we can't have decisions about adaptation plans stopping earthquake repairs from happening. So,
yeah, that's
right. They've got to be completely de-linked as a set of decisions.
That's right.
If you need to programmatically, you want to start thinking about adaptation, of course you can start, but don't let that influence the earthquake repairs.
Yeah,
is our point.
So having a conversation about adaptation on a citywide basis around the coastlines and up the rivers and with the wider community, at the same time but separate to the earthquake legacy issues. Yep. That's actually option 2.
But
as long
I
as
think you have to, from the community's point of view, we need to send a message of hope.
That's right.
Because I think what will happen if you want to start an adaptation plan before anything is visibly happening on the ground, you might not get the kind of the engagement that you want. So you need to kind of rebuild some confidence, and then I think you'll have a stronger conversation about adaptation.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
But we do have those broader citywide issues that we need to start those conversations.
We have citywide. It's a citywide issue.
So if we had
climate change is a citywide issue. It's not a Southshore issue. That's one of our issues.
And that's the key thing, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So if we had resolutions today which were very clear and very direct and much more direct than the current ones are on those getting on with those earthquake legacy issues, would you be more comfortable with having that adaptation conversation as part of a wider community conversation?
We're more comfortable with what CCRU are presenting. Option 2 has been presented in a way where it looks like the two things are going to be tied together. I mean, we didn't have very much time. We discovered these on Friday night, and I think...
So being really clear about decoupling them is the key
being
thing.
Really clear about decoupling them is our main issue with it, yeah.
Thank you. That's useful. I will allow one more question from Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda and
Simon.
Simon. It is Simon, along with the other Simon. Just on the estuary edge itself, could you please describe what for you restoration and repair looks like?
I think it's repairing the estuary edge protection to the same level it was pre-earthquake. I mean, many of those walls have also been broken, disrepair, and some of them have been gone altogether. We've got a pile of dirt as a temporary bund, but it's not in the same condition it was pre-earthquake, and it's actually really distressing for the residents to go and look at. You know, it's nearly 10 years on, and we've still got these busted walls along the edge, and that really damages people over time. So it looks, you know, as it did pre-earthquake without any houses, is really what it needs to look like. All right.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. What I will do, I'm aware there are other people that were indicating questions that didn't get the opportunity to ask questions of this particular deputation. I'll make sure that people do get an opportunity to ask questions fairly as we move through the other deputations. So thank you very much indeed for taking the time to come and address us this morning.
You're welcome.
The message is clear and I think has been confirmed by the answers to some of those questions as well. So thank you very much indeed.